I first fell in love with this performer's performance in Bright Star. I had never seen him, even though he had done the revivals of La Cage and Brigadoon. And now he is about to open in Paradise Square. We're talking AJ Lively. AJ, how did you get involved in theater?
Um, I was a very shy little kid, and I was put into a daycare where we would read a book and then act it out as a kind of an effort to get me out of my shell. And so I always loved it, and I didn't um, know that I could do it until I saw a national tour. The national tour of Big came through my hometown in Ohio, and I saw there were kids on stage, and I didn't realize that that was something that kids could do. So I was 10 years old, and I've been doing plays ever since. I never stopped. Yeah.
What was your first play?
My first play was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I desperately wanted to be Mike TV. And I was so disappointed because I wasn't cast as Mike TV. I was cast as Charlie.
Oh, I can see why.
And I didn't quite understand that I was playing the lead of the show. I just knew that I had wanted to be Mike TV, and I didn't get that part.
What has been your favorite role so far?
Oh man. Well, you mentioned Bright Star, and I have to say, I was with Bright Star from its first workshop all the way through Broadway and beyond, and being able to, with that creative team and that company, to create that character over what ended up being 5+ years was just the time of my life. It was really, really excellent. And I've had a similar experience with Paradise Square. I joined the company in 2018 for a workshop. So I've been sitting with Owen Dignan for a while as well. Um, yeah, I like that. I love being able to have the time
To develop.
to develop and explore and see how the writing changes and how my performance affects the writing changes and how the writing changes affects my performance. And I love, that's my favorite part of being an actor is the rehearsal process, the workshop process, being in the room with really smart people as they make choices and decisions, and getting to participate in whatever way I can in that process. I just love it.
What do you want people to take away from Paradise Square?
Well, first of all, that this actually happened in our country. I had never heard of most of what this play covers. I had never heard of the draft riots of 1863,
Mm.
which is still the biggest insurrection in our country apart from the Civil War itself. I had never heard of amalgamationism, which is this kind of radical abolitionism where in this neighborhood in downtown Manhattan, Black, white immigrant people were living together openly, freely. Uh, there were people of different sexualities living openly, freely together. I had no idea that existed in the 1860s. Yeah.
Our history is often clouded to make up what they'd like us to think.
Sure. And there's so much. And, it's not a thing you want to talk about. That's kind of my greatest hope for our show is, it covers a lot of dense, really difficult subject matter. And we as a company have gotten so close because we have these tough conversations. We sit down. So much of our rehearsal process and which makes the show that much better, was dedicated to just sitting down and talking through these issues, these things together as a company. And I hope that's what we can resonate to the audiences that come. I had a family friend come to see our first preview, and she said to me afterward was, I want to talk to you because your character, I didn't like him for a minute there, and that's just music to my ears. Yes, yes. The goal of our writing team is that nobody's perfect. There's no good or bad. There's just people trying their best and making mistakes.
Who do you play?
I play a very recent Irish immigrant named Owen Dignan, who is fresh off the boat. From the west of Ireland, fleeing the potato famine and the ramifications of the potato famine. His passage was paid by his Aunt Nellie, who sorry, his passage was paid by his Aunt Annie, who helps run the Paradise Square Saloon with Nellie Freeman. Um, and he's kind of the new kid in town.
What kind of roles would you like to take on?
Well, I'm doing what I love. I love new theater. Like I said, rehearsal is my favorite part. Building the show is my favorite part. So I would love to keep coming in at the early stages and just growing these characters. You know, I have a bunch of houseplants. I don't know if you can see behind me, but you know, I love like tending that garden, right? Watching things grow and develop. It's what I love the most about theater. It's it's just the best. It's challenging intellectually and emotionally and so interesting, and you're constantly learning new things. Um, so I want to keep making new. I want to keep making new stuff.
What performers inspired you?
Oh man. Well, so many, so many. I would say, you know, the first show I ever saw as a human being was Kathy Rigby in Peter Pan. And I was dressed as Peter Pan for a very good portion of my childhood after that, you know, including when my sister was born in the hospital, right? Um, but I think one of the more formative experiences I had was seeing my first Broadway show, Ragtime, and
Mm.
seeing Brian Stokes Mitchell in Ragtime really just changed what I thought musical theater could be. Um, and I had the privilege of my first TV job I ever did was on The Blacklist, and I got to play Brian Stokes Mitchell's personal assistant. So I just got
Oh,
to hang out
cool.
with him the whole shoot, and it was
He's a
wow.
super nice guy.
He's such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy, and I was able to play it cool all day, and we were having such a good time, and he was just so open and friendly and chatting with me, and I kept my cool, and I rapped before he did, and I wrote just the nerdiest fanboy letter, being like, "You're why I'm in theater, and thank you so much for everything in my life," and blah, blah, blah. And I left it in his trailer, and I saw him at 54 Below like a week later. We were, you know, in the dressing room, you know, or in the green room. We were in different shows that evening, and he saw me from across the room, and he was like, "Hey!" And I to be recognized and greeted by Brian Stokes Mitchell, like just pinnacle of my life.
No, I met Brian very early in my world. I did a show with his wife Allie,
Mm,
who was his girlfriend Allie at the time,
wow, yeah,
and he came to see us in the show. So I got to meet him then.
yeah.
And ever since then, he's like, "Why aren't you doing theater?" And I'm like, "Long story."
Oh yeah.
Um, what composers or playwrights or directors would you like to work with?
Oh, good question. Really good question. Well, I feel so grateful to have been able to work with some true legends like Jerry Herman, you know, Harvey Firestein, like actually to be able to work with them, you know, Steve Martin and Edie Brickell, and to have this creative team too. Jason Howland is such a genius. And Nathan Tyson and Masi Asari and Christina Anderson. All these, I've been so lucky to work with some great playwrights too, like Paula Vogel, and I want to expand. I don't know. I saw a Girl from the North Country, and I would love to do a Connor McPherson. I just think the way he uses language is so beautiful. Um, I just really anyone, everyone. I just want to keep growing and expanding, and I'm very excited by new work, and I'm very encouraged and excited by in recent years how much new work there has been, and how many of those shows have been from original concepts. They aren't adaptations. They aren't um, you know, biographies, or they're like true new stories, and I'm very excited by that, and I hope the trend continues and I can be a part of it.
You should really contact the BMI and the ASCAP workshops.
Yes, I've sung for them, you know, in their
Yeah,
student classes before. Yes,
fabulous.
I love it. Yes, yeah, and the NYU grad
Because I
program.
was the same way as you were. And my favorite times were getting to be the first person to sing a song before anybody else stuck their little stamp
Yeah.
on.
Yes, yes, singing off of lyrics on a napkin or something like
Yes,
that. Yeah.
exactly. My favorite. That's my favorite thing to do, actually.
It's the best. Yes, yes, we're of a like mind.
Um, TV, film, theater. Where does your heart lie?
Oh man. I mean, theater. I can't even, it's not really even close because um, I love, I love the on-camera process gives you, you know, time to like just keep doing it over and over again. It can be really fun and you can try a million different ideas off the cuff. And that's a really fun exercise. But there's something about being the final steward of the story before the audience receives it
Mhm.
and being there the moment they receive it to feel how they receive it to get the energy back from them. There's nothing like that in the whole world. To create community with, you know, on a Broadway stage with hundreds of people, over 1,000 people, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that.
Last question. Um, Actors work in so many different mediums. Are there other places that we should look for you besides Paradise Square?
Oh man, yeah, sure. I have an episode of the new HBO Max show called Julia that will be out, I believe, in April, early April. It's about Julia Child, and I play a less than welcoming male chef who's catching his turf from this female incursion. And I've if you watch shows like Bull or Hunters on Amazon, you know, I've got
Oh, Hunters. Who do you play in Hunters?
in Hunters, I play a victim at Auschwitz. It follows my character through his arrest. It actually follows my mother's engagement ring
In the first year?
in the first year. Yeah,
I have to go back and look at this. I
yeah.
love that show.
It's the greater episode. It's the bank heist episode.
Okay.
Um, so the episode starts close up on this diamond engagement ring, and it's at my mother's deathbed, and I receive the ring, and then I get arrested and sent to Auschwitz, and I orchestrate an escape, and fall in love with a girl and propose to her, and the episode culminates with um, the main cast, the '70s, has found a treasure trove of
Oh, I
stolen
remember that part.
artifacts. And just one of those artifacts is this little ring. And so it's like each piece in this room has a story just as rich as this. So I played the guy who had the ring.
I love that show. You worked
Yeah,
on
yeah, that
some
was
of
a
my
great.
favorite things. Blacklist.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky. That was an incredible experience because we filmed the interior scenes here in New York, but we filmed in Budapest
Oh,
at
wow.
a backlot that had like very to scale and real Auschwitz camp,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
set. And to be on that set with that costume wearing those wooden shoes, and
Can you sleep?
it was, yeah, it was really, and to be playing that story of someone who took power where there was none and was able to make something good and make an escape. It felt there was something cathartic about doing that. It was a really, really incredible experience with just the best team, the best cast. It was, I think, their final week of shooting the first season period. So
Mm.
everyone was, you know, deliriously exhausted, but um, it was really, talk about building community. It was a really, really fun, fun's the wrong word, but wonderful, wonderful experience.
To anyone listening, if you have not seen Hunters, I seriously recommend it. It is
Yes.
one of the most riveting shows I've ever seen.
Yes, yes.
When does
Trigger
Paradise?
warning. It's very violent. Trigger warning. It's very violent. So
Yeah,
skip
but
it.
it's not the kind of violent. It's not like Squid Game.
Not like Squid Game. No.
Paradise Square. When does it open?
Paradise Square opens officially on Sunday, April 3rd, which is coming up very soon, and I'm very excited. Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see you.
final week of previews next week. We're making our last few changes. We're gonna freeze, and then we'll be off to the races.